Hi, everyone. I only got 32 seconds to talk, okay, before I bring in our star guest, Liz Murphy. Can we go to, perfect. ODM is an on-demand education marketplace. It's self-governed, peer-to-peer marketplace, allows students and educators and employers and accredited entities, universities, private institutions in education to work together. Why is it so important? Well, when you create an alternative solution, and where you're proposing for people to work together, and you take away the traditional institutions that govern this transaction, this education transaction, you need something to be able to govern the process. The smart contracts was a big seller for us. This is the reason why, because there are a set of terms and conditions. These set of terms and conditions will track every piece of the transaction through the whole entire education process. Real quick, making education and employment more affordable, verifiable, accessible, and transferable is where we're trying to get to. And what I'm excited about is having Liz come on and talk about decentralized credentials, because it's a very important part of our ecosystem. So when people come in, they can either teach, they can learn, they can get verified, and they can take these records and be able to get them transferred and acknowledged with other institutions and employers. So again, the data is very important. That's why the credentials, the talk that Liz is going to bring on is very important. Anyone who comes in, any of the participants come in, they would have to get verified. That means it's really, really important that we work with centralized holders of these academic records. That's universities, that's data clearinghouses, that's education ministries, and so forth. So the biggest challenge for us is how do we bring in, close the gap between the centralized block cert companies, systems, along with centralized systems. Is very important. I call it the interoperability of data sharing. So we're going to get a fresh perspective from Liz Murphy. She spent 30 plus years in higher education. She's a CEO and chairman of CampusWorks. She's a former chief client officer for DataTel, which is now Ellucian. And she just gives a fresh perspective. She listens, she understands the challenges in education. She works with universities to help them become more efficient, to be able to adjust and drive value for the students. Give it up for Liz Murphy.
Thanks, Richard. So how can blockchain help global economies thrive? My bias is to say through education. If we go back to Scott's presentation earlier today, I'm the Aristotle on the program. I actually don't understand a whole lot about the underlying technology, but what I can tell you is the power of that technology to help individuals and societies thrive. I think blockchain is the missing link to an unrealized reality that we've been looking for a very long time, which is to create lifelong learning portfolios. As the world changes in higher education, post-secondary education, and as credentialing changes, as the degree is marginalized, if you will, and replaced with prior learning experience, experiential learning, badges, certifications, and competencies, it's going to become absolutely essential that we're able to accumulate all of these things about the experiences we have in one place with global access. So my challenge to you in the couple minutes I have is to get you to think about how you can all come together so that no matter where I am in the world, My knowledge, skills, and abilities can be put in one place and then accessed by global employers. That's the way we're going to get the world back to work. That's the way we're going to make sure that employers have what they need to fill the new and changing jobs that are going to occur as technology continues to evolve. One of the things we've been challenged by in post-secondary education is an insular approach. One, to change. It's one of the oldest infrastructures in our world, and it hasn't changed nearly as fast as the rest of the world. So number one, if you're in higher education, if you're a representative from a college or a university, I encourage you to break free of the shackles of thinking the old way and think about how to be more open to students and to technologies that are going to allow you to integrate knowledge from multiple sources, not just worry about how to make your enrollment numbers, how to make your programs thrive. That integration will naturally raise the tide of all the ships. Number two, we have to care about access. In the States, we're talking a lot about equity in education and about the divides that exist, socioeconomic, digital divides, and other things that get in the way of students being able to actually be educated. One of the things that you can do using this technology is to take the discrete pieces of learning that all of our experiences contribute to and put them in a centralized place and give value to those things. We saw in the earlier session that Harvard diploma that was a fake, right? That spoke volumes to me as we think about what really matters when we're hiring people. What really matters is their capability to adapt, their critical thinking skills, their ability to move through different kinds of jobs and evolutions, right? That's what's powerful. Employers on the other side of this equation are now challenged because they have new unique jobs for which there are not programs that say this person has a competency in which to deliver. So we need a way to disaggregate what you know, allow it to be searchable, allow employers to put out there, here are the characteristics, skills, and knowledge I'm looking for, although I might not have a discrete job description for it. And here are all the people in the world who have those skill sets. Let's start talking to them. Imagine the power of blockchain to actually fill the jobs you have in your community, help people in your community who don't want to leave where they were born and raised to actually thrive by being able to work across the waters in jobs that are highly valued. Imagine what it would be if people who are not economically well-heeled actually have the opportunity to earn some of those places in those companies. I think blockchain can break all the rules. I think post-secondary education can be the leader in helping that to happen, to help all of your communities thrive. Do you have questions for Richard or myself?
Thank you, Lisa. Any questions? Please. Yeah.
How can all this be depicted in a blockchain ledger?
Oh.
All your dexterities, all your skills, all your diplomas, or whatever.
I think what you're doing here at this conference and focusing on standards is going to be absolutely critical, right? The IMS standards in learning management are a great example for us on how we can come together globally and create standards that will be accepted across the board, and that's going to be absolutely essential. It's really important that we don't fight our different perspectives on value and quality in this process, but rather come up with some clear criteria in order to make that happen. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for very interesting points you have made. The thing is, you speak about decentralized, and at the same time, for me seems that we want centralized. The thing is, the blockchain is the decentralized architecture. And at the same time, we need about, for instance, for the universities, you need someone to control. And how can you be decentralized and with blockchains, because we need someone to control. And the thing is, this is the oxymoron point. We need centralization, we need regulation, in other words. And this is what, for me, the point is, maybe the next step of the blockchain is the artificial intelligence. Because what you have said there, I'm speaking about, I'm a professor at the university, Hellenic Open University, and you have over there a platform which actually is from cave years, is very old. And we speak about artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is going to make all the things you have actually, you make all the points. And this is why I can see the future. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is how can I see it, because we speak about this centralization, but at the same time is who controls the controllers. And this is another.
That's a great
and
question.
This
That's
is
a
a problem.
great question.
Nobody can answer, but just for a point.
Yeah.
That's actually a great point.
That is
And
very
governance in blockchain-based
That's
systems
right.
is just a great topic. And of course, there are different ideas, concepts at the moment on algorithmic governance and other types of governance for such systems. So it's a great question, actually, and a great topic.
Yes.
These fantastic insights. My name is Sandra Vengadassalam from the Max Planck Digital Labs. And my question is your platform already productive, and do you have users on it?
Yep, I do.
Yes, the platform is in production. We did the first deployment of the academic credentials for Southern Alberta Institute of Technology for its 2019 graduation year, 6,500 students. And that's great because that's kind of the basis of what our platform is trying to do. Because everybody, as I mentioned earlier, we want to make sure that everyone comes into this ecosystem is verified. And once we were able to get that data, that student, then we really understand and learn about that student. And then we can bring in the educators that actually will teach based on the skill gaps of those students, and then be able to bring the employers in. So we're working all
Step by
four.
step.
Yeah.
And on which your platform is based is on which blockchain?
Ethereum?
Ethereum.
Yeah.
Are you following the work of the distributed, the Decentralized Identity Foundation?
No.
It's about decentralized IDs and verifiable credentials.
I'm sure, I'm not aware of that. I'm sure my team, and she's probably right behind you, filming, and she'll be able to explain
Okay,
that.
okay.
Joe, do you want to just real quick?
Explain, sure. So, here, I'll take
Yeah.
the microphone. Let me borrow that from you. So we are working on a number of fronts with consortiums and organizations to help standardize. As I think as Liz was pointing out, this is going to be really important that we have this model of governance and decentralization, and it's balanced, and we're going to have to do this very carefully because this is a very old system, and it's been, you know, it's been what it's been for a long time. And I think that this particular organization, I will be interested to talk to you after the talk, but we are also, you know, in discussions with the Groninger Declaration out of Holland. So there is a lot of effort going on to create these standards, and it's certainly going to take time and collaboration, and we're, you know, definitely engaged with that. So.
Yeah, and just a couple more words on that piece. You know, we talk about, like, we're so fanatic about being decentralized, and you know, we live in a centralized world for so long. We have to work with decentralized institutions. These people who have been making a living and, you know, have the control of this academic credentials and skills and so forth, they understand, they were part of creating the standards, you know, the accreditation standards. We can't just drop, centralized systems. We have to work with them. We have to embrace and find that common denominator, the common way we can work together. Because, they're out there, they're trying to do good things as well. We're not trying to disrupt it. We're trying to work together and really create alternative education or opportunities for, I think it was some 93.7% of people worldwide don't even get to go to college. Can you imagine that? And the 7% that does, the top half of 1% of people make it. The 39.5% struggle, and the 60% bottom out in education and in employment. So for us to think that we're going to make everything decentralized is not reality. We need to work together and figure out a common denominator on how we work together with the centralized government. Now, down the future, yes, it may work totally on a decentralized model, but it's not going to happen right away. Oh.
Any more questions? Just yeah.
Athabasca University student, master's student, so glad to hear about the Alberta connection. And I'm just wondering if, sorry, should I start again? Athabasca University student, master's, and in information sciences, so I'm excited to be hearing about the South Alberta connection. Yeah. And just out of curiosity, have you reached out to just provincially some of those universities and are working together with them? Because I do have a couple of projects on the go, and especially a telepresence-based project that could help with bringing students together, and I'd love to figure out how to integrate with that.
Yeah, we have a whole entire team that is divided out throughout the world. And we're actively working with all content, all education type organizations, be it independent educators, private institutions, private education companies, universities, colleges, and like. So we want to, make this fully available for everyone, because the truth is, what we're trying to do is get more people educated with a skill so they can get a better job and they can live a better life. And we're making some great strides. I just got a report from my team. We have registered students and educators that represents 44 countries around the world. Okay.
If it is a quick one, let's yeah.
I just wanted, so your vision, I have one question about how are you handling the identity of this? And I apologize if I missed that. I did not attend the initial part of the talk, but if you want all the credentials, skills, diplomas, everything to be linked with the person throughout the life, whether even if the platform, if the company goes away, you still have those on the blockchain. How do you handle the identity? How do you see this evolving if people lose their private keys? So how do you see that?
Well, first, one of the things we done right away was find a really unique way, and this was based on, a lot of the regulatory climate throughout the world in different countries. We are actually on a top layer using a fiat system. And the fiat system will check, make sure, it does it like KYC, make sure that person has a bank account or has the KYC components that is needed. And then underneath, we use the token. We mirror the fiat with the tokens. Part of the tokens going through the smart contracts and throughout the payment system, and paying out the educator. So we do have more information on that. All these participants that come in, and then along with the academic credentials and so forth. So that's very important. Now,
Can I just add something to that?
Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to address, I think that
Am I on? I think we are dealing with the same problem everybody else in this ecosystem is dealing with. I don't think there's a simple answer to what happens if you lose your private keys. We are working on a model, as Rich is illustrating, that's both centralized and decentralized. So there is, there's going to be kind of like baby steps of giving people this responsibility, and there's the trade-off between, freedom and security here. And so we're dealing with a population that is not a crypto population, and that's, that's our goal, is to have educators and students embrace this model, and that's going to take some time to actually create the full model of like, here's your decentralized wallet, and if you lose it, it's your problem. Like, we're baby stepping our way into that. I just want to add that. So.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you.